My name is Aaron Reeves, and until last year, I never believed in ghosts, especially not the kind that appear dressed as brides in the middle of the night. I worked as a freelance photographer, traveling to remote towns to cover weddings, festivals, and sometimes even abandoned place shoots for online magazines. I had seen old churches, ruined mansions, and eerie cemeteries, but none of them ever left me truly frightened. Everything changed in the winter of 2023. I was hired to photograph an old countryside chapel located far from the city. The assignment was simple: capture the church at sunrise for a travel magazine. The place was said to have vintage charm, with stone walls, wooden benches, and a bell tower that no longer worked. The village nearby was tiny, just a handful of families, a small grocery shop, and an inn. When I arrived, the innkeeper, an elderly woman named Martha, gave me a strange look the moment I told her my task. "You're going to the chapel of White Willow?" she asked, her voice tense. "Yes. Why? Does it close early?" "It's not that," she said, lowering her eyes. "People avoid going there after sunset." I chuckled. "Is it haunted?" She didn't laugh with me. In fact, she didn't laugh at all. "Some say they've seen her," she whispered. "Who?" "The bride." I waited for her to say more, but she walked away. That night, curiosity gnawed at me. Ghost bride, village legends, abandoned chapel, it all sounded like a storyteller's exaggeration. But deep inside, something felt unsettling. Still, I had a job to do. The first night, I reached the chapel around 10 p.m. to check lighting for my early morning photo shoot. The air was crisp, and the trees around the chapel were still as if frozen. The building stood silently, with its worn-out wooden door slightly open like an invitation, or a warning. Inside, the place smelled of dust, burnt candle wax, and something faintly sweet, like old roses. My flashlight sliced through the darkness, illuminating stained glass windows with cracked colors. Everything looked abandoned yet preserved, as though someone had tried to keep the memory alive. Around midnight, I started hearing it. A faint humming, a woman's voice, soft, distant, echoing. It wasn't a song I recognized. It sounded like someone practicing a lullaby or maybe a wedding tune, only it was slow and mournful. The sound came from outside the chapel. My first thought was that the villagers were playing a prank. Maybe someone followed me. Maybe Martha had told them about the outsider who didn't believe in their stories. But when I stepped outside, the air was silent again. I felt a chill crawl up my legs. I packed my camera and decided to return to the inn. The night felt heavier, and the trees now moved like shadows breathing. As I walked toward my car, I heard footsteps behind me, slow, dragging footsteps. I swirled around. Nothing. But the footsteps continued, this time directly behind me. I didn't wait. I jumped inside my car, locked it, and drove back faster than I should have. The legend of the bride. The next morning, I asked Martha about the chapel. She sighed deeply, as if she had expected this moment. Her name was Evelyn Hart, she began. A young woman from this village. Beautiful, gentle, and kind. I listened quietly as she continued. She fell in love with a man from another town. They planned to marry in that very chapel. On the day of the wedding, she dressed in a white gown, holding a bouquet of white lilies. Everyone waited for the groom. But he never came. I asked. Martha nodded. He ran away, left her with a letter saying he wasn't ready to commit. She was devastated, heartbroken. They say she walked to the chapel after everyone left, sat in front of the altar, and cried until nightfall. By morning, she was found dead. Dead. How? No one knows. Some say it was heartbreak. Some say she took her own life. And some say, Martha lowered her voice. Some say she was never meant to live without him. I swallowed. What does this have to do with the chapel being avoided now? She never left, Martha whispered. People see her dressed in the same wedding gown. Waiting, searching, for her groom, I murmured. For anyone, Martha replied, who steps inside her chapel at night. The second night, I should have left. I should have taken the morning pictures and driven back to the city. But my pride, and maybe my stupidity, kept me there. I wanted proof. That night, I returned with a video camera, hoping to capture something unusual. The chapel felt colder than the previous night. The air smelled stronger, like flowers mixed with decay. At exactly midnight, the humming began. This time it was clearer, closer. I turned on my camera. The chapel door creaked open, though no wind touched it. Then I saw her. At first, just a blurry figure at the far end of the aisle. A woman, in a white wedding gown, standing perfectly still. I raised my camera, zoomed in, and froze. Her gown was torn at the bottom, smeared with dirt. Her veil hung unevenly. Her face was pale, almost drained of life, with dark bruises under her eyes. But her eyes, they were hollow, bottomless. She stared at me without blinking. "Are you, Evelyn?" I whispered. Suddenly, the candles on both sides of the chapel lit themselves, one by one, casting an eerie glow. The bride began to walk toward me. Slow steps, dragging the gown. The humming grew louder, turning into a whisper. "Wait. Don't go. Don't leave me." My legs refused to move. Fear glued me to the floor. She stepped closer, her face inches from mine. Then she lifted her hand and touched my chest, right where my heart was. Her fingers were ice cold, like touching a corpse. "You came back," she whispered, her voice trembling with joy. "I knew you would. I'm not who you think," I stammered. Her expression shifted, from joy, to anger, to grief so intense it felt like the air itself cracked. You promised you'd marry me." I stumbled backward. My camera fell and shattered, but I didn't stop. I ran out of the chapel as fast as I could. Behind me, I heard her scream. A scream so sharp, so painful, that it still echoes in my nightmares. The final night, I should have left right then. But my car wouldn't start. The battery was dead, drained completely as if something had sucked the energy out of it. I had no choice but to stay another night at the inn. Martha took one look at me and said, "Whatever you saw, she has chosen you. Chosen me." Those words haunted me until nightfall. Around 2 a.m., the inn's window rattled violently. The temperature in my room dropped. When I turned toward the mirror, I saw her. Standing behind me, veil floating gently, gown trailing across the wooden floor. She wasn't humming this time. She was crying. Tears of black mist streamed down her cheeks. "You left me again," she whispered. "I didn't leave you," I said with a shaking voice. "I'm not your groom." She came closer, her face inches from mine. "You are now." I ran, bolted through the hallway, down the stairs, out into the freezing night. My footsteps echoed on the empty road as I sprinted toward the chapel's direction. Why the chapel? Maybe I thought facing her there would end this. I reached the chapel, breathless, trembling. Inside, the candles lit themselves again. The bride stood by the altar, waiting. But this time she wasn't sad. She was smiling. A slow, eerie smile. "I knew you'd come," she whispered. The door slammed shut behind me. The chapel darkened. I felt hands, cold hands, grab my shoulders. Then her voice filled my ears. "I waited once. I can wait again. You will never leave me." And everything went black. Aftermath. I woke up outside the chapel at sunrise. My clothes were torn, and the side of my neck had a bruise shaped like a handprint. My car started easily that morning. I didn't look back. But now, every night at exactly midnight, I hear humming outside my apartment window. Soft, slow, mournful. A wedding tune. And sometimes, just sometimes, I hear a whisper. You will never leave me.